This video addresses the topic of warning labels on electrical equipment, specifically questioning their effectiveness when applied excessively. It explores the concern that an overabundance of warning labels can diminish their impact, potentially leading to them being ignored by trained and qualified electricians. The argument suggests that a multitude of labels can obscure individual warnings, rendering them less effective and possibly creating a safety hazard in itself. The fundamental question being asked is why there's a perceived need to place labels on equipment informing trained and qualified electricians about the dangers of electricity, considering their expertise and understanding of the risks involved. A parallel is drawn to other products, highlighting instances where warning labels might seem redundant or state the obvious. For example, the case of a lighter and the warning that it can get hot, questioning the logic behind such warnings. The video then considers counter-arguments to this perspective. Firstly, legal liability is a significant factor. Warning labels provide manufacturers with a legal defense against product liability claims. By clearly indicating potential hazards, manufacturers demonstrate that they have taken steps to provide adequate safety information. This can be crucial in defending against lawsuits if an accident occurs. Secondly, warning labels serve as a reinforcement of safety procedures. Even for trained electricians, labels can act as reminders of established safety protocols. They can help reinforce safe work practices and prevent complacency, particularly in high-pressure or repetitive work environments. Thirdly, while electricians are the primary users of electrical equipment, there may be instances where untrained individuals encounter such equipment. Warning labels provide essential safety information to these individuals, potentially preventing accidents or injuries. This is particularly relevant in public spaces or areas where access to electrical equipment is not strictly controlled. Fourthly, adherence to international standards necessitates the use of warning labels. Many countries and regions have specific regulations regarding safety labeling on electrical equipment. Compliance with these standards ensures that equipment meets safety requirements for global markets, and warning labels are a key component of this compliance. Fifthly, warning labels can communicate specific hazards that may not be immediately apparent. While electricians are generally aware of the dangers of electricity, specific equipment might present unique hazards such as high voltage, arc flash potential, or the presence of hazardous substances. Warning labels can clearly identify these specific risks, enabling electricians to take appropriate precautions. Now, going into more specific electrical hazards that could be warned about. Firstly, high voltage. High voltage is a significant hazard in electrical systems. Warning labels indicating the presence of high voltage alert individuals to the potential for severe electric shock or electrocution. These labels often specify the voltage level. For example, a label stating danger 480 volts provides a clear indication of the risk involved. Secondly, arc flash. Arc flash is a dangerous phenomenon that occurs when a short circuit creates a high energy discharge. Arc flash can cause severe burns, blindness, and even death. Warning labels indicating the potential for arc flash alert electricians to the need for appropriate personal protective equipment, PPE, and safe work practices. These labels often include information about the arc flash boundary and the required PPE level. Thirdly, electrocution. Electrocution is the most severe consequence of electrical shock. Warning labels emphasizing the risk of electrocution reinforce the importance of de-energizing equipment before working on it and using appropriate safety measures. These labels often include graphic symbols depicting the dangers of electrocution. Fourthly, rotating machinery. Electrical equipment often includes rotating machinery such as motors and generators. Warning labels alert individuals to the dangers of moving parts, such as the risk of entanglement or crushing injuries. These labels typically advise keeping hands and clothing away from moving parts. Fifthly, stored energy. Some electrical equipment contains stored energy, such as capacitors. Warning labels indicate the presence of stored energy and the need to discharge it before working on the equipment. Failure to discharge stored energy can result in electric shock or equipment damage. Now let's talk about types of warning labels. Firstly, danger labels. Danger labels are used to indicate the most serious hazards, those that could result in death or serious injury. These labels typically feature a red background and bold lettering. Secondly, warning labels. Warning labels are used to indicate hazards that could result in serious injury. These labels typically feature an orange background and bold lettering. Thirdly, caution labels. Caution labels are used to indicate hazards that could result in minor injury or property damage. These labels typically feature a yellow background and bold lettering. Fourthly, notice labels. Notice labels are used to provide important information about equipment operation or maintenance. These labels typically feature a blue background and plain lettering. Also, regarding label placement, warning labels should be placed in a conspicuous location where they are easily visible to individuals who may be exposed to the hazard. Labels should be securely attached to the equipment and resistant to environmental factors such as moisture and sunlight. Labels should be placed near the hazard they are intended to warn about. For example, a high voltage warning label should be placed near the high voltage terminals. Furthermore, let's explore the design aspects of effective warning labels. Firstly, visibility. Warning labels should be designed to be highly visible, using bright colors, bold lettering, and contrasting backgrounds. The size of the label should be appropriate for the viewing distance. Secondly, understandability. Warning labels should use clear and concise language that is easily understood by the target audience. Symbols and pictograms can be used to supplement the text and improve comprehension. Thirdly, durability. Warning labels should be made of durable materials that can withstand the environmental conditions in which they will be used. Labels should be resistant to moisture, sunlight, chemicals, and abrasion. Fourthly, consistency. Warning labels should be consistent in their design and messaging. This helps to reinforce safety information and prevent confusion. Fifthly, compliance. Warning labels should comply with all applicable standards and regulations. This ensures that the labels provide accurate and complete safety information. Going into how standards are met, organizations like the American National Standards Institute (ANSI) and the International Electrotechnical Commission (IC) develop standards for safety labeling. These standards provide guidance on the design, content, and placement of warning labels. Compliance with these standards helps to ensure that warning labels are effective in communicating safety information. In the United States, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration (OSHA) also has regulations regarding hazard communication. These regulations require employers to provide employees with information about workplace hazards, including the use of warning labels. Now, on to some real-world examples of warning label effectiveness and ineffectiveness. A study by the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, NIOSH, found that warning labels were effective in reducing injuries in the workplace. The study found that workers who were exposed to warning labels were less likely to be injured than workers who were not exposed to warning labels. However, another study found that warning labels were not always effective in preventing accidents. The study found that workers sometimes ignored warning labels, particularly if they were familiar with the task or if they were under pressure to complete the task quickly. These studies highlight the complexity of warning label effectiveness. While warning labels can be a valuable tool for preventing accidents, they are not a foolproof solution. Factors such as worker training, work environment, and the design of the warning labels themselves can all influence their effectiveness. So, some best practices for using warning labels can be summarized as: firstly, conduct a hazard assessment to identify potential hazards in the workplace. Secondly, select warning labels that are appropriate for the identified hazards. Thirdly, place warning labels in conspicuous locations where they are easily visible. Fourthly, train workers on the meaning of warning labels and the safety procedures they should follow. Fifthly, regularly inspect warning labels to ensure they are in good condition and are still effective. Sixthly, evaluate the effectiveness of warning labels and make adjustments as needed. In conclusion, while concerns exist regarding the overabundance and potential ineffectiveness of warning labels, it remains crucial for manufacturers to provide adequate safety hazard information. Optimizing the design and placement of warning labels is possible to ensure clarity, conciseness, and effective communication of essential safety information to all users.